kick it. I mean,
when you do Brock Purdy, we have a couple of minutes. When you do a Brock, so it's such an advantage when I go to a game to watch what a quarterback sees. You can see it on film, but on TV it doesn't show you where are the safeties, where's the coverage, where they're shifting. Give me your sense of what Brock Purdy is without Christian, Debo, Kittle.
Well, listen, he's on that track to being one of these great West Coast quarterbacks. And I don't mean geographically West Coast. I mean West Coast offense from Shanahan and that whole tree. He goes to the line of scrimmage with multiple options. The guy's incredibly accurate. He's got great feet, and he can escape and get out of trouble just enough.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a perfect West Coast quarterback. Then you put those playmakers around him, and he delivers the football the way he does, you're always going to have a chance with this guy. Once again, these games come down to one score, generally. Every once in a while, you get smoked on the road like the Rams last week in Arizona. But not always. And when it's close, if you can keep it close, and you got a quarterback that can take care of the football, you got a chance. Look at, I mean, we're calling the Rams.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to emphasize with this clip, with Brock Purdy and just Mark Sanchez saying, he's on path to being one of the great West Coast, quarterbacks, as well as you always have a chance with this guy. What do we always talk about what makes a great quarterback, right? It's consistently talking about you always have a chance. They say that about Mahomes. They say that about Brady. They say that about Manning, Rodgers, all these great quarterbacks. They always have a chance. And when you have these other quarterbacks who you don't have the same level of trust in, you don't have the feeling, okay, if we get the ball with 1:30 to go, we can march down the field and we got this, right? We just want the ball last, right? Like, you don't always have the feeling. With Mahomes, you definitely have that feeling. Josh Allen, you have that feeling. With Brady, Manning, right, Rodgers, all those quarterbacks, we have that feeling. And this is what Sanchez is saying. Like, you have that feeling with Brock Purdy. You always have a chance. And I want that to be so emphasized. And please don't come out and be like, well, what does Mark Sanchez know? Because, what did he do in the NFL? And it's like, those insults are so, honestly, are so lame, right? I mean, it really makes no sense. What did Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, McVay, Shanahan, what did they all do in the NFL? Are they Hall of Fame players? Are they the greatest players in the history of the world? Like, so it's such like a lazy, like, what does he know? Like, I hear that all the time. They say that about Dan Orlovsky, Mark Sanchez, even Mangini, and all of that. And it's just like, okay, Mark Sanchez knows ball. He knows quarterback play as well. There's no mistaking about that. Seeing him when he breaks down film and I think the way how he can get into the mind of a young quarterback, especially considering his level of success in the NFL, I think gives him the perfect mindset into what these younger quarterbacks are feeling, their progress, and what their experience is, more so than, say, a Tom Brady and a Patrick Mahomes, even, because these quarterbacks were obviously such freaks of nature, such quick success, high levels of success, a massive, GOAT trajectory, that it actually gives them not always the best understanding of what a lot of these other players are feeling and experiencing, because they're just on completely different levels. And it's like, just like how a billionaire can't really understand what it's like to make $50,000 a year, they're just like, they just can't relate, right? And so that's why I think Mark Sanchez and Dan Orlovsky, for that matter, are such perfect bridges to that. And I just love what he has to say, right? Like, you give Purdy playmakers and he will make the plays. He gets to be the conductor of that orchestra and gets to set up all these playmakers to make plays. Not everyone can do that. And especially not early on, and especially obviously when you have Shanahan, it doesn't hurt you either. But we've seen other quarterbacks be surrounded by playmakers and being unable to do that. I mean, how many times have you watched a game with a quarterback, and I won't even name any names in this situation, where you're just like, God, get the ball to this guy. Why are they not getting the ball to this guy? Like, what are we doing? Right? Like, you've had that feeling, and you're just like, why are they not getting it to so-and-so? And I'm specifically not using names so people don't get too obsessed with the players or the quarterbacks or the coaches of those teams. It's anytime I use an example of a player, people just take it, too extreme. So I'm deliberately leaving names out. And again, usually sometimes that's the quarterback, right? And sometimes that's the coach, or sometimes it's the game plan, right? It's never necessarily just one thing, but a lot of times it is the quarterback. And again, this is when I guess I will use a name because it doesn't seem to really get people all too excited. It was Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, right? It was like Russell Wilson couldn't get the ball to his playmakers, right? He couldn't with Denver Broncos. And I'm not even saying these playmakers are on the levels of obviously McCaffrey and Debo, but just the playmakers for the Broncos. Russell Wilson couldn't consistently get them the ball in the moments that really matter in a game, right? Yeah, he can get some wins and he can get some stats, but in the moments that really matter, that you can really now get some momentum and stack up wins, Russell Wilson was unable to do that. Brock Purdy consistently is able to do that. He consistently gets the ball to the right guys at the right time, right? And I think that's really, really remarkable, right? And as like I've said in previous videos, even if it means that, even if you want to say, listen, Brock Purdy is not a Superman, he can't put the team on his back, he can't carry a team, he needs great weapons, yada, yada, yada. I've already had those conversations many times, and so I won't do it here. But at the very minimum, you can't deny his ability to get the ball to playmakers, to get the ball where it needs to go. And that's what Sanchez is highlighting. And he's and Purdy does it in an insanely accurate way and an insanely high success rate with moving parts, with a complicated offense, with pressure, right? Obviously, the 49ers have huge expectations year in and year out, right? At the Super Bowl, wherever it may be. And he's succeeded it with Christian McCaffrey going down, Debo going down, Kittle going down. Like, it's still there. So the praise belongs there, right? The praise is definitely there. It's so funny because last year when I was making videos, it was like near the end of the season, and I'm talking about Brock Purdy and all these teams, and people were just ripping me apart. 49ers fans were ripping me apart because I wasn't praising Brock Purdy enough, right? And I was like, okay, relax. And they were like, he's the greatest quarterback ever, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, that's why people have issues that, when you're saying those statements, that's why people kind of come at Brock Purdy. And now that I'm complimenting Brock Purdy, I'm just relaying what I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing watching Purdy play. People are all now they're saying you're the reason why people hate Brock Purdy so much because of they keep using the word that I'm not going to say out loud, but it's a common word that apparently everyone says now when you're praising someone. And I'm just like, I'm like, go look at my record on Brock Purdy of what I've been saying, right? Like, just go look at it. I don't just unconditionally 1000% praise him, right? Like it's been a progression, and I've still even called Brock Purdy out at times, right? I said if he played a little bit better in the Super Bowl, they win. Like, I'm not this 100% all or nothing person. I constantly try to bring things from all different angles, so it is always funny when now recently people are yelling at me for, I guess, praising Brock Purdy too much. And it's like, he's been a top quarterback in the NFL this season so far, week 3, and he hasn't had his Avengers. Like, that's all people try to use to bring down Brock Purdy, was that he's only good because of the people around him. And now the people around him have not been there, and he's still playing like a top quarterback in the NFL. And yet they want to just still pull him down. And they still want to say, well, he didn't win that game. He lost to the Rams and this, that. And it's like, the dude was 22 for 30, 292 yards and 3 touchdowns. It was making big time plays. Those yards could have been up to like 350 or so and more than 3 touchdowns. Like, he was not the problem. So it just seems to be a common theme in NFL discussions that we can't have honest conversations about teams, about players, and especially about quarterbacks. And I every time I feel like I understand why, another reason comes to mind, and it's just, I think what it is at this point too, I think it's a lot of fans that are so obsessed with, say, one quarterback or so, and they just can't fathom any other quarterback being considered great or a top quarterback in the NFL. They really believe in this idea that one quarterback is just so vastly superior and is just so on a completely different universe, and that these other quarterbacks are just not even close. And I think those fans are the ones that come at it from the other side. And it's it's always interesting to watch it unfold, both in the media as well as in the comment section of YouTube. Always a fun place to be. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Are you confident that Brock Purdy is shaping up to be one of the great quarterbacks and confident that he can lead San Francisco 49ers back to the Super Bowl? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.